So, after the staggering success of SimCity and then The Sims, where do you go next? Well, not for nothing was Will Wright's next project originally known as SimEverything. Now, Spore asks all the big questions about life and the universe, but we've come all the way to Maxis to ask the biggest question of all: is it fun?
Eurogamer TV has come to the place of Spore's genesis to take you on a virtual journey through the title's development as we meet those responsible for turning Will Wright's sprawling vision into a coherent, palpable reality. But first, what is Spore? Is it a game? Is it a toy? Is it an interactive science experiment? Is it the world's most advanced penis monster generator?
Spore's your epic galactic journey. Basically, you start out as a cell, you end up on land, you group together, you form a tribe, you learn how to use tools, you develop the ability to manage vehicles, and then eventually you get to go out into space and really explore everything else that's out there. And the whole way along, you're creating all of your own game pieces and playing in the style that you like to play.
Well, you really create a life and you evolve it from tide pool as a little small single cell organism through creature, tribe, civilization, and out into outer space as an alien race that can explore the galaxy. I think in its simplest form, that is Spore. It's your creation, your story, your journey.
Well, that's a start. But to fully understand Spore, it also helps if you know a bit about its creator. Think Will Wright and two main titles spring to mind: SimCity and The Sims. The first ever game Wright designed, however, was Commodore 64 helicopter shoot-'em-up Raid on Bungling Bay, released in 1984. Yet even in this arcade shooter, the first seeds of his next project were already planted. Wright co-founded Maxis with Jeff Braun in 1987. City Builder SimCity was its first title, released in 1989. SimCity has subsequently appeared all over the place in all kinds of shapes and sizes. While many of these were entrusted to separate development teams, Wright took personal charge of 1993's SimCity 2000 and 1999 SimCity 3000. In the meantime, he applied the evolving sim concept to increasingly ambitious projects, including 1990 SimEarth and 1991 SimAnt, with a return to chopper piloting in SimCopter in 1996. Then, in 2000, Maxis released The Sims, Wright's virtual soap opera, which went on to become the most successful PC game of all time. Wright has been largely hands-off the myriad sequels to SimCity and Sims since then. And that's because he spent the last 7 or 8 years drawing together the various strands, themes, and theories of all his previous titles to create his SimEverything. But before we get to meet the big man himself, time for a quick nosy around the studio to get a feel for how the game's many apparently disparate parts have been gradually pieced together over the years.
So the weird thing about our studio is there's 2 floors. We started on 1 floor upstairs, so we're at 2 floors. So downstairs is our team meeting area. So I think one of the things that's maybe surprising for how big the game is how few animators we have. So we have the pit here is the procedural animators. So these are engineers. Our art team is really small. There's only three animators for all of Spore. This is the real lifeblood back here of the day-to-day for Spore. It's the dev test team. So these guys every morning religiously pull down the latest build and they do a smoke on it and make sure there's no major issues. But this is the 3D printer that prints all the 3D guys. So they fill it with powder and then this thing runs. Yeah, it was funny when that printer first showed up, we were printing like every day. The artists were like printing stuff and then it takes a while. In the middle here is the kind of lead people of the Creature Creator. And some of the new little sub-projects that are going on. So it's Creature Creator and some little R&D. This group here is the core engine team, so they do all the game graphics. Game team, so this is the Civ team area. Alex, one of our engineers, and Soren. This is where Civ game gets made. And then this is the biggest individual team is the space team. These two share a lot of code and a lot of design, so getting these 2 groups close together. Ask yourself, does it work in space? Cell game, our one engineer, Jeff Gates on Cell Game. Serena's the localization producer. She had a lot of fun. Classic Sims, we had 18 languages. in Europe, 18 languages, which is just insane. I was at a dinner party and he's like, yeah, we're localizing in 5 languages. I was like, I think we're 22 total if you add in the Asian SKUs.
And since we're up this end of the building, we might as well go and say a quick hello to William.
Hi, Eurogamer. I'm American Gamer.
Back in a bit, big guy, don't go anywhere. Counting on your customers to create a huge proportion of a game's unique content is quite a gamble. That's partly why Creature Creator was released back in June. Not just to give gamers an early taste of the title, but also to ensure that there would be user-created content ready to populate the galaxy from day one. What nobody predicted was the sheer scale of impact this quirky toolset would have. In just 2 months, over 2 million unique species had been created using Creature Creator. As Wright mischievously noted at E3, Earth only has around 1.6 million known species. If the Beatles were bigger than Jesus, then Spore's bigger than God.
We've been fascinated with what people have made with the Creature Creator. I mean, I think I was telling you, we had one player who made a whack-a-mole table out of a creature, and it's just so surprising when these things appear in your game. But I can't wait to see what they do when they get their hands on the vehicle creator, the building creator, spaceship creator, all of these other things that they haven't been able to experience yet.
There's been a series of creatures people have made that look like they have skeletons on the outside, and it was something that somebody else figured out. Nobody on the team figured out how to do that. Somebody outside did. So I think that it's really delivering on the promise that we wanted to make of you're going to be able to make stuff that we can't even imagine what you're going to make.
But come on, we know what you lot are like. So have they counted how many of those 2 million look, well, like male genitalia?
No, we don't at all. I mean, honestly, it's not really something that we think about or encourage necessarily. People will take things where they want.
If you haven't tried out the brilliant Creature Creator, you can download a basic version for free from Spore.com or snap up the fully tooled model for a $5. And the outlets for your content are many. You can, at any time, record a video of your game and upload it directly to YouTube. There's the Sporepedia, which will be the definitive record of everything you encounter in the game. And then there's the Comic Book Creator, which lets you create your own dynamic storyboards. It's Facebook, MySpace, and YouTube to infinity and beyond. Maxis wants to create the ultimate virtual playground where you can experience and enjoy Spore whatever kind of player you are.
The people that work on Maxis games tend to want to work on games that, have features that we don't even understand until after they're out. The kind of gameplay that people develop out of it, the contests that people will make amongst themselves.
Yes, gameplay. Such is the complexity of Spore, it's all too easy to get distracted by its more esoteric elements. But what's it like as a game? We get to sit down with Spore and try our hand at this whole creating life business for ourselves. You begin in the cell phase, taking charge of a simple organism that must survive the beginnings of life in primordial goo. Wright has compared this section to Pac-Man. As either herbivore or carnivore, you swim around gobbling food and smaller life forms while avoiding becoming a snack for one of the bigger beasts that lurk in the water. It's incredibly simple, ridiculously cute, but a surprisingly tense and engaging experience. Evolve to the creature phase and your species quits pond life for park life. Compared by Wright to Diablo, here you create your first three-dimensional life form. Engage either socially or violently with other species, and, for want of a better expression, screw your way to sentience. My, haven't we grown? In the tribal phase, Spore's populous if you like, things get a little deeper. With your physical evolution largely complete, now it's time to learn how to use tools, master the arts of the hunter-gatherer, build a village, tame lesser beasts, and dominate rival tribes, either through the hand of friendship or the clenched fist of violence. Wow, those billions of years have just flown by. And before you know it, you're a fully fledged civilization. If you're a fan of SimCity or Civilization, here's a section to really get your teeth into. The elegant simplicity of the Creature Creator is transferred to buildings and vehicles as you construct your tech-savvy military, economic or religious society. You can even compose your very own national anthem using a procedural music generator created with the help of Brian Eno. The goal here is to conquer the entire planet through fair means or foul, at which point the heavens await. The space phase is Spore's endgame, and where you'll spend most of your time. It's SimEarth meets Destroy All Humans meets 2001 A Space Odyssey. Build a spaceship, learn to fly, explore and colonise nearby worlds, destroy entire planets, manage ecosystems, and, well, spread your seed across an entire galaxy. The possibilities are, frankly, dizzying. That, dear viewer, is Spore on the most basic level, but we'd recommend clicking on the red button for an in-depth hands-on report on the near final build of the game. Anyway, back to Will Wright. A few days before our visit to Maxis, we saw him wow a massive crowd at Comic-Con in San Diego, with an engaging talk and hugely impressive live demo of Spore. His head may be off somewhere beyond the rim, but Wright is affably down to earth in person. Space, science, fact and fiction, lifelong obsessions for Wright, which is a good job really, since he's had to keep himself and his team going on Spore for over 7 years.
I'd say that's more a property of me picking a topic that I'm deeply, deeply interested in. If I had picked a topic that I thought maybe would sell, but I wasn't personally interested in, it would have been excruciating. But I'm just as enthusiastic about the topic and theme as I was when we started. And at that point, it's more just a matter of kind of enjoying the process of going through it. You know, really, I've spent about the same amount of time on Spore as I did on The Sims.
Wright started work on Spore well before Microsoft launched its first Xbox. The games industry has changed rather a lot since then. And while Maxis has embraced new trends, Wright insists the original vision is largely intact.
It's actually surprisingly close to what we initially were talking about. I think, you know, there are a couple of areas that ended up in there that we didn't expect to be so developed, like the social networking side of it. But then also, I think at every single game level, just the kind of the last level of depth that we added, almost every level of the game, was a little bit deeper. I didn't really expect every level to be so deep. I expected them to be a little bit more kind of light and superficial in terms of the game genres.
And in the weaving together of so many seemingly standalone elements, Spore almost creates a genre of its own.
Well, I think the reason I was driven to what Spore ended up becoming was the fact that we had, you know, a lot of games out there that were single-player experiences, unconnected. We had a lot of other games over here that were massively multiplayer experiences, and there was nothing in between the two. But yet there's a really interesting space of hybrids between the two that Spore became, where you have, you know, a lot of players connected through content, but it's not synchronous. It's asynchronous interactions.
And now he's been to space in the virtual world, why not do it for real?
I mean, I think it would be interesting to go into space for a little bit. At the same time, I've thought about it enough to realize that, you know, you're going to be in a tin can, you know, and depending on whether it's suborbital or orbital, you know, how much you can actually enjoy the experience.
So, with Spore out on September the 5th, what's next? Well, Spore's journey is only just beginning. A wall in the studio hints at the possibilities, and it's hard to know how serious some of them are, but it's clear that Wright has big plans, including using the game as the basis of a TV show.
Well, I've been trying to think about Spore, you know, less as a product and more as a franchise or a brand, and looking at moving it in all possible directions. You know, if you look at documentaries on cable television, if you're into that science, it's kind of fun to watch the documentary. And there's some pretty good science shows for kids, but there aren't that many kind of fast-paced, really intelligent, very visual science things for adults that feel like entertainment. And so that's kind of the direction I want Spore to move in.
And then what?
A lot of other projects that have been kind of waiting in the wings that I've been doing early research on, you know, that when Spore ships, I'm just going to take a deep breath, sit back and look at these projects and kind of consider, you know, which ones to dive into.
If you want to read the full interview with Will Wright, including what the God Game guy really thinks about God and God botherers, hit the red button. Spore will begin its evolution on PC, Mac and DS on September the 5th.